So let me ask you this. I see that you got your nice shirt on there with your name, your logo on it. It looks real nice.
Yeah.
Uh, what made you come up with the name Glean for your cleaning company?
So Glean comes directly from a story in the Bible. A lady named Ruth, who was a widow, she was taking care of not only herself, but her mother in law, who also became a widow. And I thought when I named the company, it was just kind of that isolated situation in the Bible. I thought it was a great name. It rhymed with clean, so I thought that was helpful. But it wasn't until 2 years later that I discovered that Glean is actually a socioeconomic way to help people who are in need. So back in the day when people just had farms, they would leave the outside of the farm not harvested. They would leave the crops there and untouched so that people who were either widowed, orphaned, or in need could come by and pick up what it is they needed. And so we've just taken something from ancient agrarian times and moved it to 2019 through commercial cleaning.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Now, we've had some interactions a lot in the group, Clean Biz Network, and you always come up with new ideas how to get customers. Like I said, I think you were in a contest one time, a pitch contest for your cleaning company, and you just
Yeah.
always got so many new, just come up with more stuff. And you come across to me as an A-type person that loves to plan and is very meticulous. So I wanted to know what viewpoint on your viewpoint is on planning things out with your cleaning company, and how important do you
Yeah.
think planning is?
I think planning is very important, but I give myself a B plus personality type. So I love creativity and innovation. I'll give you an example. I was out of the country a couple of years ago, and I'm sitting in the airport in another country looking at the mop heads of the mop and trying to figure out, oh, how can I get that mop head to the
Right.
United States and who produces it? And I'm talking to janitors. Anywhere I go that I see cleaners, I'm either observing their products or I'm having a conversation with them. So I think planning is key, but I'm not yet. That's not my strong suit. I would be honest. My strong suit is innovation, creativity, how to do what the competitor is doing, but doing it better and doing it in a way that it aligns with the mission that I believe that I'm called to do.
That's what's up. So we kind of a lot alike. Then, like I'm always coming up with new ideas as well, and I'm good at implementing. But
Yeah,
you know, but I'm not necessarily the biggest on planning. But good. That's what's
yeah.
up, though. All right. Well, I think you have experience with commercial, residential, and post construction, I believe. So I just wanted to know which one you thought was the best and why, and then also which one do you recommend to a brand new person getting into this industry?
So when I started the company, I knew for sure I did not want to do residential cleaning. There are so many nuances of people's personal belongings that can't be replaced if they're accidentally knocked over or touched or any of that. So I just didn't want that headache. I
Gotcha.
became bonded immediately. I became insured immediately, but there are just some things that I just felt like would be more of a hassle. And I got approached when I first started within the first year. A lot of residential cleaners ask me, how did you get into commercial? Because I want to transition. I'm like, I never moved out of commercial. I started
Right.
in commercial only because there's always going to be an office that trash needs to be pulled. There's always going to be bathrooms that need to be cleaned. And in residential side, a family could say, hey, we're going to just do the cleaning ourselves. Times are getting tough or whatever. When it comes to office, how likely is it at some level of the office, how likely is it that the CEO is going to say, hey, I'm going to start getting the secretary to clean the office? It's
Right.
not very likely. So I felt like there's more consistency when it comes to job creation. Where's the place that I know that I can create consistent jobs? So that was really my focus. And post construction is new. The goal with post construction is that we be able to not only maintain folks in the janitorial side, but that they can get a bonus or an influx of business as we move into the post construction side. The challenge with post construction, in my mind, is that you need this group of people for a period of time and then they don't have jobs that in between time. So I'd rather have the janitorial as the foundation and then the post construction as the next level.
That's a great point that you made. And a lot of people come into this industry thinking that, well, I have to start with residential first and then I'm going to ease my way to commercial. But you just went straight to commercial.
Yeah.
And that was the way I did it as well. I did a little bit of residential afterwards, but once I got my toe in the water and saw it was cold, I didn't want to mess with it anymore. No knock against residential. Do your thing if you like residential,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
our preference. But cool. That's just show you guys who think you need to do something else before commercial. No, you can go out there and go get it. So, and speaking of your experience, what experience outside of cleaning do you think was an asset to you with your cleaning company?
Um, as I mentioned before, I've had several side hustles. I won't call them businesses, although they all had business licenses.
Right.
But I think just the idea of knowing that I could start something, so it's never come into my mind that I could not start something. What has come into my mind is how can I maintain and sustain something. So my previous careers have been in public relations, and then I transitioned to mental health. So the common denominator, I think, between all of these industries is that my goal is really helping people. As long as I can stay true to that, it doesn't matter to me um, what the implementation, how it happens. It's just this is the vehicle that I choose to help people. So public relations has helped me with speaking. Mental health has helped me with interviewing, so I can read body language while people are talking to me. I can kind of see if they look one way or the other. I can determine whether they're lying. It's not foolproof, but it is helpful.
Absolutely. And speaking of looking the other way, I got my question. So if you see me veering off a little bit, I'm just referencing my question. Don't judge me. And so, speaking of my questions, on to my next question, which was I wanted to speak on the fact that you're a woman owned business, right? And
Uh-huh.
a lot of times there might be a difference in being a woman versus a man in certain industries. I wanted to know what your experience was as a woman-owned business owner in the commercial cleaning industry. How do you feel it affects your business, whether good or bad?
So I would say that this is a great time to be a woman-owned business. Um, in my state, there is a program specifically to identify small woman or minority-owned businesses, and Glean is all three. So when we start going into those certification areas, I think it's definitely something great to leverage. But I think in the practicality of it, I've been in rooms where there's no women. I've been in rooms where there's no African Americans. I've been in rooms where um, people just you can kind of come in unsuspecting, and so people don't know. And I'm going to use the word, they don't know you're gleaning from them when they're talking, because they think you're just there and, oh, okay, well, they don't know that I'm a sponge.
Right.
The one thing that I absolutely love is learning. It doesn't matter to me what I'm learning about more often than not, but I think you can always pull and learn from different demographics of people. But as a woman coming into the space, uh, I didn't realize it hadn't been penetrated by Black women in particular.
Yeah.
I think there are women-owned commercial cleaning companies that are independent in the area, probably more so that are franchised. But I think it's a true asset, to be honest.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned, like we was talking a woman owned, and then obviously you're minority. Are you a SWAM vendor as well? Are you
Yeah,
SWAM
so
certified? Okay.
we're SWAM certified, micro business certified, DBE. We're even approved to do work in the airports, which we have not done yet. But
That's what's up.
every certification we could have gotten, the goal is to get it.
That's what's up. And I think I don't even remember. I think my first cleaning company I did get my certification. The second time I didn't really bother to, because
Yeah,
my understanding was it kind of matters for government contracts,
exactly.
but it doesn't necessarily affect too much outside of that. Am I accurate on that, or have you had
So
any?
yeah, what's been interesting is that I've gotten a couple requests for bids specifically because I was a swim vendor, but it's not from government contracts. One
Gotcha.
happened this week and one happened a few months ago. So I didn't realize that private industry is also pulling from that. And that could be for a combination of reasons, whether
Right.
that's in their mission statement, whether that is something that they like to share with their board of, hey, we've been intentional about our vendors. So I've just really been surprised because we actually have not used our government. We haven't penetrated the government contract area yet. My goal was to really focus on private industry and then move into government.
That was huge, Dan, because that was something that I didn't know. So good. So make sure y'all get y'all certifications. Any certification you can get, go take advantage of it. All right.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. My next question was, I see that you've been preaching independence from day one since I've came across you. You've even pushed me a lot of times when I wasn't believing in myself to step out of faith and step outside of that franchise and go independent. So I wanted to know, why is independence so important to you?
Yeah. So part of that is my personality type. The goal of owning my own business is I don't necessarily want somebody to tell me how to run
There
it.
you go.
So that's just part of my makeup.
All right.
But the other piece is really that I know that the vision and the mission of Glean is so specific that I wouldn't have the freedom to do what I'm doing now within a franchise. First of all, I would be very much focused on paying off franchise fees,
Right.
and that's not the goal right now. So we currently Glean partners with three organizations in the city of Richmond, specifically to create job opportunities. So the Office of Community Wealth Building, Social Services View Program, and Better Housing Coalition. And so we can pull people from there and specifically place them in contracts that are along the bus line in Richmond that are very intentional. And I wouldn't be able to do that if a franchise supervisor was saying, hey, we got to get 10 people in. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. So Glean has the opportunity, I think, to do a few other things. Now, it also means that we don't have the capital or the cushion or the marketing team or the HR team or the systems or the wholesaling prices. There are things that I am limited in terms of starting off, but for me, it's far better to do it independent.
Yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned what you like, the franchise might be hold you back when it comes to getting certain type of contracts. But a lot of times people always flex that the franchise can help you get more contracts because of the name. But that was a good point, that it actually could hold you back from getting certain types of contracts as well. So that's a very good point. Another thing that I saw that you told me offline was you're thinking about switching to toxic free chemicals,
Yeah.
especially with your employees in mind, et cetera. I know that my brother and I, we both got sick a lot, especially like
Wow.
cleaning like manufacturing warehouse bathrooms, like
Wow.
spraying so much chemicals, like like that stuff used to tear us up. So I think that's a very important. I always say that if I start another cleaning company, I'm definitely going to incorporate non-toxic cleaning chemicals. So what brought you to that? How has that process been going for you? Have you been able to find suppliers for your non-toxic products? Like,
Yeah.
tell us about that experience.
I'll tell you, I was at a business event late last year, and a lady introduced me to a product that the cloth would do the work rather than the chemical. And
Right.
I did not follow up. I just thought it was like she was talking about a unicorn. I just had never heard of anything like that. And then a few months ago, I have a residential cleaner who is a friend of mine. She owns her own residential cleaning business, and she told me about the same product, but she got it from her client who had cancer, was diagnosed with cancer, and moved into a chemical free cleaning in her home and requested that the cleaners that come in do the same. And so once I heard it the second time, I immediately told her, you just saved me $1 million. Like, of all the things that I have to purchase, supplies is huge. And so to transition my mind from, we got to spray more chemicals, it needs to smell like a certain way. We're moving now into using essential oils, but also using vinegar and things that will not only clean, but I learned that there are different levels of cleaning. There's sanitizing, there's disinfecting. So to be able to do all those things in a toxic free environment not only helps my customers feel more comfortable, but it also helps my cleaners. And I just didn't want to be kind of hypocritical in saying that doing right by my cleaners, by paying them a decent wage, by being respectful to them, by giving them bonuses. We give incentives when they get kudos from the client, but
Right.
then they're breathing in these harsh chemicals. So I figure it was a matter of time. So within the next maybe 35 to 45 days, I'd like to fully launch into our toxic free option for folks.
Excellent, excellent. And I think you might be, actually, I know for a fact you're the very first woman cleaning business owner that I'm interviewing on the podcast. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
The other thing is you were one of the first women business owners in the Clean Biz Network too. And speaking of that, I know that you left us one time and then you ended up coming back. So I was kind of just wondering what your thought process was on that, what happened, what made you come back, et cetera. So if you could kind of share that with us.
Yeah. So the first year in business um, was exciting. It was overwhelming as well. So within the first year, we had 10 cleaning contracts, including a private school, which I was told that you don't get a private school until you kind of move on. I've been in the business for a while. So I learned very quickly that there's a muscle that you use to start something. And I was sharing with my brother a few months ago that there's another muscle that you have to use to grow something and sustain something. And I was definitely trying to use the same muscle that I used to start the business, and it wasn't as fulfilling because I felt like, okay, I started it. What do I do now?
Right.
Well, you develop a new muscle. You got to shift. And I didn't make that shift very easily. I can tell you it was very painful. Um, I had some great people around me who I told them I was not only going to shut down the business, I was moving to Cuba, I was selling my home. Like it was a whole
Yeah.
situation. So the thing that continued to resonate in my mind as I was going through this process was you said you were going to create jobs. So how do you create jobs if you shut down the company you created? And so that's just been kind of my process. So I appreciate you letting me back into the group. I said, "Oh man, AJ is gonna be like, what? Where did she go? What is she
We were so
doing?"
happy to have you back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
Right? Because you asked that you always sharing videos, and because a lot of people will sit around and wait for me to go share everything. It's like, no, everybody shares some. Now, like, you always share about that. I appreciate you. Yep. Um, and then the last thing I wanted to ask of you too is, for a person that's on the sideline, they're listening to this interview, they're thinking about starting a cleaning company, but they're just not sure. What advice would you give that person? Do you think is like just what would you give somebody that's kind of procrastinating, scared to jump because they don't want to lose their money? What would
Yeah.
you say to that person?
So I would definitely say jump, but jump with wisdom. You want to get a part of a group. Clean
Right,
Biz has been a huge, huge asset for me. I thought, how am I going to jump into an industry that I know nothing about? And I came across your information on YouTube, and I figured that's all I need. All I need is AJ's brain in my hands, and
right,
we can make this work. Um, but I would say to someone who is hesitant, this is, an industry where there are limited barriers. So a person who is in Richmond, who I look up to, she's one of the few African American female-owned commercial cleaning businesses, and she is doing incredible. I read her story before talking with her and found out she had one vacuum, one customer, one client, and she started from there. And so when I see her now, it's just like how in the world did you get there? But she started with one vacuum, and we all can do that one thing. I think it can be intimidating to think about all the things you don't know. But this is not like it's not a difficult industry to get into. It might be difficult to grow or difficult to know some of the language and the nuances. But once you start getting into it, you realize that you know more than you thought you did,
right.
and you can learn faster than you thought you could. So I would definitely say to jump in. The other thing that I'm learning now, being 2 years in, is that trust is a huge part of business. And I never thought that. So I thought as long as I can make it happen, as long as I can learn more, as long as I can listen to podcasts or go to conferences. That'll be what grows my business. But being able to trust people, trust that you can hire the right people, trust that the people that you've hired can do the work, trust that if they don't do the work, that you can recover from it, you can make it right. Trust that if you make a poor decision, that decision can be corrected within a timely manner. So for me, trust is a crucial thing at this point.
Absolutely. Thank you, Miss Nicole. And I just want to add on to that too, because for the people who are on the sideline that are listening to this, you hear Miss Nicole's story. She got her 10 contracts in her first year. She's been in business for 2.5 years, which is just an accomplishment in itself, just to be in business that long. Um, that's success, okay? And what you have to remember, like from the sounds of things, based on what she shared with us, is she had something to lose. You know, it sounded like she had a career background. She was in the mental health industry, and she had some things to lose, and she was still able to jump in. She moved with wisdom, as she said, but she was able to jump in, and she was able to be successful with it. Okay, then you got a guy like me who started with basically nothing. Okay, I came from nothing, and so my point of view was I have nothing to lose, but you start with one thing, as she said, and you build on it and you do it. So, regardless whether you starting with something or starting with nothing, you can make something happen. Okay, so I just wanted to add on to that. So make sure that y'all jump. And I just want to thank you again, Miss Nicole, for coming
Thank
here with us,
you.
sharing your story and sharing your journey, sharing some tips, and then hopefully we can get you back on after you grow even more and come on to do a second interview with us.
That would be great. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely, no problem. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right.